Hi, welcome to Drinks with Rob, where I get to do two things that I enjoy. One is sit down with a successful entrepreneur, and the other is to have a drink. Today we're shooting from Rothman's on Park Avenue South and 18th Street. Just moved up a block. We're going to hear a little bit more about that in 1 second. And I'd like for all of you to say hello to Ken Giddin. Ken Giddin is the co-founder of Rothman's. Longtime New York Enterprise Report readers may remember Ken and his brother Jim on our cover, I think about 2006. Ken, welcome.
Thank you, Rob.
Let's have a drink. What are you drinking there?
Little Balvenie, single malt.
Single malt. I'm having this interesting new tequila de Leon, I believe it's called.
Very good stuff.
Bottoms up.
Bottoms up.
You don't have to finish it yet. But
nice, right?
we should pace ourselves. That is very nice. Very nice. So Ken, tell us a little bit about Rothman's.
Well, I mean, Rothman's is one of the larger independent multi-brand clothing stores in New York City. Probably one of the larger ones in the United States. There's not a lot of stores like us anymore. The days of the independent family-owned companies are kind of over.
How long have you been around?
I've owned the business for 25 years. I took over the name after my grandfather had a 60-year run that was going out of business, and my parents asked me to come down and help close the store in 1986. And I ended up closing it and spent about a year thinking, well, you know, maybe I should reopen it under a different scenario, and that's what we did.
Right, and you're right on Union Square. Now, so 25 years ago, Union Square was not the nice area it was today, and I know you've previously told me you have an interesting story about the time that there was a broken window.
Yeah, I mean, Union Square 25 years ago was, I mean, you can't get a cab in Union Square now because it's too crowded.
Right.
25 years ago, you couldn't get a cab in Union Square because they were afraid to come down here.
Right.
Union Square Park was known as kind of Needle Park. And so there was some pretty rough nightclubs around here, and we used to get like all this stuff going on in the middle of the night. And at the beginning, I couldn't afford gates.
Right.
And you needed those metal gates because it was a rough neighborhood, and we would get our windows broken, and someone would grab something from the window, and I'd have to come down. You'd have to call in those days and call the guy who comes and replaces the plate glass or puts up the plywood. So I have to sit there with a baseball bat in the windows for about 5 different times, just sitting there guarding the store with a bat in my hand.
Did you have the same guns that you had back then?
I was bigger then. You had to be.
Right. Yeah. It's a good thing. So for 25 years, Rothman's was a block south on Park Avenue South and 17th Street. Now you guys moved up a block. What led to that?
Well, we had about 5 years left on the lease down the block, and we knew. I mean, that's become one of the best corners in New York City. Two-way traffic in both directions. That's not the place for an independent business. That's going to be a national tenant
because
the rents are going to be sky high there.
Right.
So a national tenant will take that. We knew we had a limited time period, so we could either wait it out or be proactive about it. So what we were able to, we looked at it for a couple of years, and the funny thing was, our landlord over there bought the space that we moved to, so we only moved a block away.
Right.
And it was the kind of thing where at first we thought, okay, well, we'll downsize a little bit, and then we kind of started adopting this philosophy of go big or go home.
Yeah.
Because we felt that you needed a certain amount of size to survive in New York.
Right.
And so we went from 7,000 square feet to 11,000 square feet.
Wow.
And at first we were a little daunted by the size, but it's worked out really well.
So for all of our viewers out there, Ken and I are good friends, and I remember getting a call from you saying, "Hey, Rob, I have some numbers here, and I want to go over them. The new rent amounts and all the different numbers." And I thought we had a really interesting conversation. I probably said something to you that you didn't expect me to say, which was along the lines of, I don't think it's about the numbers. I think it's about if this is going to give you a renewed passion for the business,
right?
Then just do it. And I'm sure you looked at the numbers. You used to be a banker, so the numbers weren't anything new for you. What were you thinking in terms of that renewed passion? Obviously, for anybody who's been in the store before, you would know, and right now we're in the basement, but you would know that the store just looks entirely different. It's a lot more modern. I'll use the word hipper. I don't know if you would use the same word. So what were you thinking when you were making the move, besides the financial part of it?
The financial part of it was, like you said, just one aspect of it. And you know, I read this, I think it was a Malcolm Gladwell piece once about entrepreneurs, and it said that entrepreneurs, they're not big risk takers. What they've done is they've studied all the risks, and they've minimized the risks, or they've figured out what they are. And frankly, I thought, after a lot of thinking, I thought that it was actually more risky to stay where we are and try and wait it out. And I think you helped me with that decision in a lot of ways. Because one of the things was not only that we wouldn't know in 5 years where we could go. Now we had time. We actually got paid some money to leave, and that helped build out this beautiful new store. But also what you talk about is that energy, that reinvigoration. I talked to people when we just started doing this deal, and they couldn't believe, how focused I was about what we wanted to build and what I wanted to build. And then frankly, I think, being so focused about it, whatever, the people that believe in your third eye would say that I was, I was really focused on what this should be. And I'm passionate about it now, and people could feel that passion, and the industry feels that passion, and I think even our customers feel that passion about it now. I mean, this turned out better than I ever thought it would, because we really focused on it. We put together a good team, and I hired a lot of people that were a lot more capable than I was.
Right. Yeah, you didn't really spare any expense from what I saw during the build-out process.
We tried to be smart about it because it's all coming out of our pockets, but we wanted to do it right. And you get one chance again to make a first impression. So,
right. How was the build-out process? That can't be easy.
One of the great things we discovered was the city has some programs to help you, and I'm going to draw a blank on the name of the program. Oh, NBAT, New Business Activation Team,
right,
was really helpful. Out of the small, I think it's a mayoral program. And, those kind of things where if you're creating jobs for the city, which we were, they really made the process pretty good.
Right.
So we built it on time and on budget, which was kind of amazing. And, we followed all the rules, and we still did it that way.
Right.
But NBAT...
On budget.
On budget.
I think that's unheard of. I think that's a first in the
Well, actually, and we opened with a month to spare.
Right.
So before we were getting kicked out of the other space.
Right.
So that worked out well too, which gave us a nice cushion.
So from a business model standpoint, has anything changed with the new Rothmans?
A lot of, the new store, I mean, the nice thing I see is that our older customers are coming in, and frankly, the amenities are so much better. I mean, people would walk in the old store, and our product was always very, very good. We're good at studying the market. We buy, Canali, Boss, Xenia, and then a whole host of lines that we think are great price-value relationships. And so we've always been pretty good at buying the right clothes and knowing what to sell people, and our service was pretty good. Frankly, we didn't present ourselves very well. And this gave us an opportunity to take advantage of finding people that really would help us present better. So the new business model is still kind of, let's provide a great service and a great price for these people. What we like to say is like the department, it's a big store, so it's almost like a mini department store without the headaches. So, that side of it still stayed, but the funny part for us now is the store is a lot more palatable to the hipsters in New York, right, who wouldn't have walked into that store.
You kept the old audience, the old customer base, but you're getting a new customer base.
We're getting a new customer, and then we did some fun things like, there's a great team of British designers called Ducky Brown, very hip guys, very, sort of on the more expensive side clothing, and we got together with them. I met them at a trade show, and we said, we're going to be building this great store, and why don't we do something together? So we came up with this idea of doing this line called Mr. Brown by Ducky Brown, right, and we did like a diffusion line, sold exclusively here. We created it, and before we even opened, it was written up in GQ as, like great stuff at great prices. So those sorts of things where, it's given us, we've always wanted to do clothing that would appeal to a broader cross-section of New Yorkers, and specifically, some of the younger guys. But this venue gave us the opportunity to really showcase it.
You couldn't do that in the old store at all.
It didn't really. It didn't appear. It didn't appeal to that crowd. And now, it's giving us the ability to showcase what we're good at, which is, like bringing people in and making the shopping experience efficient and rewarding.
Right. So, what are the other plans that you have now for the store?
I mean, one of the things that I'm really excited about is, I think retail is all about change now. So, you know, we had meetings today and we said, oh, we don't like the way this is laid out. And I'm like, change it. So I'm a huge fan of pop-up stores, and this is a big enough store that we're going to have permanent pop-up stores in here. So I know that's a little oxymoronic, but we're going to have rotating cast of pop-up stores. So like it might be Vineyard Vines one month and, you know, somebody else another month, and an opportunity for some brand that, you know, a kind of company that they love New York and they maybe want to open up a store in New York, but they don't have the capital or the bandwidth to do it.
It's a big
and
effort,
so
yeah.
we'll give you a month in here, and you know, we'll showcase you if your brand fits in with what we do.
Right.
It could be bicycles, it could be cameras, it could be anything, but we want it to be something that we feel strongly about.
Would you guys, if that was successful, would you guys be getting a piece of that, or are they just kind of
yeah,
move on?
there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat,
Right.
but you know, it could be a minimum fee or a percent or
Right.
you know, whatever.
Right. Well, actually, I have one last question, which is, what's it like to work with your brother? For those people who come to the Small Business Awards, you see Jim there every year, and he's a character. So what's it like to work with Jim?
I mean, we've worked together for about 20 years, and you know, there's nothing better. I mean, but you know, we have different strengths. Jim is actually a much better drinker than I am.
Yeah, I've heard.
And you know, and I'm the one guy with the wacky ideas, and he's the guy that makes them work.
Yeah,
so,
and for what it's worth, when I come and buy something here, if I'm buying T-shirts, I come to you. If I'm buying a suit, I go to Jim, and we can kind of see why.
Everybody's got their strengths and
Right,
weaknesses.
right. So Ken, I'd like to thank you for being on Drinks with Rob.
I really appreciate
and
it.
again, Rothman's here on Park Avenue South and 18th Street. For those longtime customers that haven't made it back, you got to check it out. I was blown away when I walked in, and I actually saw the build-out happening. So congratulations, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Ken.
Exchange.